Hello everyone and welcome back to Rise of Industry. I am ObiVanDamme, and in today's video my original plan was to make Brandy in our Alpha 5.0 Let's Play and show you how you can distribute equally from any number of buildings to 7 destinations. But because the Alpha 5.1 mega patch is already live and there seemed to be some struggle with not just delivering to 7 destinations, but not all the ratios that are currently available are easy for some of the peoples to get. So I decided to set up this test production facility over here, which production-wise makes absolutely no sense, but it is pretty good to illustrate how you can distribute from any number of buildings to any other number of buildings. First of all, what ratios do we have in the game at this very moment? This might change later because, well, we are still in alpha phase, but at the moment there are currently 8 ratios or 8 different number of buildings that you need to get perfect ratios. And this is due to the fact that our production times at the moment are all multiples of 2.5. So as you can see here, for example, Apples has 20 days, and this 20 days is also the maximum number of production time available. And if you take the production time divided by 2.5, you will get the number of fields, gatherers, or factories that you need for perfect ratios on this specific good. And because 20 days is the maximum number of factories we need is 8. For a reason that I will show you in a minute, 8 can be treated the same way as 6 because the distribution setup is exactly the same. You just need to use one more dispatch slot. So because of that, you will only see 7 crop farms over here that we will use for our distribution. So let's start with the simplest distribution, which is from one building to one other building. All you need to do is choose the destination and you're done. Number of trucks doesn't matter. Do as many as you like. You can set this up to 9 if you have this available. This will work 1, 2, 1. If you have 2 destinations, well, it's same stuff. It's almost as simple. You just select the second destination in your dispatch slot, or you select the second dispatch slot in your destination panel, and here you need to be careful with the number of trucks you send, because I recommend that you only use 1 each. With the current high number of production, this should work, but you should use the least amount of trucks that are available without your products piling up. The reason is that if you for some reason have different destinations, so we don't have that over here because all those farms have the same distance to any of those water siphons. But if you have different distances and you use more than 1 truck per dispatch slot, you might get imbalances if you're unlucky. And this has to do with how the distribution system currently works. And that's too much for today to explain in detail, but just make sure that if you have more than 1 destination, try to use just a single truck per dispatch slot. The third destination, or the third ratio, is still pretty simple. It's 1 to 3, and you just use 3 dispatch slots in your building. And a lot of the ratios that are available can be broken down to one of those 3 ratios, which, for example, 2 buildings to 2 buildings, 3 to 3. This is all basically 1 to 1, and you can set it up exactly like that. 3 to 6 is the same as 1 to 2, and so on. You get the point. So the next destination, or the next ratio that we have, is 1 to 4. And this is not as easy because we only have 3 dispatch slots. But what we have is logistics buildings. First of all, the warehouse, like that. The warehouse makes things easy because it has, like all the other logistics buildings, it has 5 dispatch slots. So if you select water for all that, just like so. we can now cover the destinations or cover the ratios anything to 4 and anything to 5 just by selecting all those. Why is it called farm? Yeah, farm 3, farm 4. So this is just 1 to 4, and because this is a logistics buildings and you need it anyway, this basically means it is anything to 4, because if you have any number of water siphons like we have over here, you can just make them all send the stuff to the warehouse, and the warehouse can distribute it to 4, or if needed, to 5 buildings. Just like that. The way from your production to the warehouse does not matter, or the number of trucks you send from your production to the warehouse. The distance also is irrelevant, so these distances are all different, but because you only have a single destination, like in the 1-to-1 example, you can send all the trucks that you want. Plus, the warehouse has the advantage of being able to gather goods, so you can, of course, assign all the trucks here to gather water, and this all works out fine. The next ratio that we have is 1 to 6. And for 1 to 6, well, you need 2 warehouses or 2 logistics buildings. I will just use warehouses in this example. And you set it up by sending 2 buildings 1, 2, and 3 from the one warehouse, and to the buildings like that. We will choose, of course, 4, 5, and 6 from the other warehouse. Now, with this example, you need to be a little bit careful, because there's not just a single warehouse available, and the gathering mechanism, I have no idea how it works and how it selects its target to gather goods from. So if you gather the water from those 2 warehouses, the warehouses might receive different amounts of water. So make sure that you always send the stuff to the warehouse, except and do not use the gathering mechanism. This works fine if you have an equal number of buildings sending to the warehouse. So let's say we just have, well, if we have 1, it's pretty easy. We will choose those 2 warehouses, and everything is fine. If we have 2 buildings like that, we will make one of those buildings send to warehouse 2 and the other one send to warehouse 1. Here, the number of trucks doesn't matter. If we have a third one, what we will do is we will send to warehouse 2 and 1 from the first 2 buildings, and for the third building, we will send to both warehouses, just like that. And this is true for all the numbers. If you have odd numbers, you will half of the buildings will send to one warehouse, the other half will send to the second warehouse, and the remainder building, which makes the total number odd, will just send to 1 and 2 respectively. Make sure that the building that sends to both warehouses is the nearest building. So for example, if all those should send to the warehouses, we would make 1, 2, and 3 send to this warehouse, 7, 6, and 5 send here, and this warehouse send half of its goods to warehouse 1 and the other half to warehouse 2. This is because of this use the smallest number of trucks available thing. So we can, with this tiny distance, we can definitely use just a single truck for each destination. So yeah, that's basically it for sending to 6 farms or to 6 different destinations. If you have to send to 8 different destinations, it's also pretty simple, because you set up the input to the warehouses the same way as before. But you just use the forced dispatch slot over here on each of those warehouses, and you can send to 8 buildings. This is exactly the same as to 6. Now, the most interesting part is sending to 7 destinations. This seems to be the one where most people are struggling, and it took me quite a while to figure this out, but here is how it works. You build a trade terminal anywhere near your production, and we will send all the water. I will just quickly set this up. We will send all the water to the trade terminal, and I will show you this in while the game is running, so to prove that this really works. Just like that. We're using a ridiculous amount of water at the moment, and I just realized that for demonstration purposes, one would have been enough. Okay, so you now have this trade terminal, and now near your farms, what you will do is you will set up 2 more trade terminals. Let's set up one right here and one right there. Okay, now let's bring roads in here, just like that. And now the interesting part is... Oh, wait a second, we need some more space. Let's just remove this real quick. Come on. Okay. So let's set this up again. We can set this up like this. This should work. Okay. Let's turn things around. It's easier to see what's going on. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we will choose one of those destinations or one of those train terminals, and we will need 4 slots for that. And we will now make sure that... No, this is crop farm 2. Crop farm 1, crop farm 2, crop farm 3, and crop farm... No, not the product. Crop farm 4. Now the important part is you will send 1 truck to crop farm 4 and 2 trucks to each of the others. And in the other terminal, we will do just the opposite. Oh no, we will do the exact same thing, but with different crop farms. So we will again choose the crop farm number 4 to send a single truck to. And then we will choose 5, 6, and 7. And they will receive 2 trucks each. Okay, so in total, we have set up... we set up 8 destination slots, 8 dispatch slots, and we chose 7 different destinations with 2 trucks each. And the beautiful thing about why this is working is because, let's just quickly set up the track system. Wait, what's going on? Just like that. And this will go to the other terminal, like that. And this one will just go back to the origin, just like that. Okay. And now what we are going to do is we'll set up a train route, trains, that goes from terminal 1 to terminal 5, which is the first one. And from there, it will go to terminal 4, just like that. And what we are going to do is we will take 2 loads of water. We will unload 1 at the first terminal and 1 at the second terminal. Play. And now let's run the game and see how this is working. I should have stored some water in beforehand, but this is fine. All the trucks. Everything is at the terminal. And here we go. There's the train. And this train, let's pause real quick. This train is carrying 14 water. And we have 7 destinations with 2 trucks each. So we set up our trucks to exactly deliver the amount of water that this train is carrying. And it will now dispatch or unload the first load over here. And now it's just carrying 7 water, and it will unload those over here. And because we now brought the exact number of water to those two terminals, which is, and this is by design, the same amount of trucks that we have assigned, all the trucks will leave the terminal at the same time. And because of our beautiful setup over here with the same distances, all our trucks will arrive at the same time. Look how lined up they are, back at the depot. And there we will have the next chunk of 7 waiting, and they will just go out and deliver again. So if you now take a look at all 7 of our like that, we can see that they all have the same amount of water available. Okay, they started to produce already. So you can see here, there's 3 water lying around everywhere. And that is how you distribute to 7 destinations, plus how to distribute to all the other destinations. I hope that this was helpful. I will paste links to the spreadsheet that I used to figure all this out in the description box below. If you have any questions, if something is not clear, let me know in the comments below, or jump to my Discord server, which is also linked in the description below, where you can ask me anything. I'm usually around there all day because I have notifications on my phone, thanks to being a human in the 21st century. Yeah, so that's how you do it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.